Good morning, everyone. I'm Paulina. This is Patty.
Morning.
Hope everyone's warm this winter, staying warm, 20 plus, and it's winter. Lovely. All right, so this session is all about cash flow this week. So we will talk about how to manage your cash flow, how to track it, and how to stay on top of it in order to understand the health of your business and forecast and predict how much you're going to be making in the future, and just be ready for unexpected, I guess.
Yeah, making sure you've always got enough coming through and just being sure that you're keeping an eye on it, keeping track of it, and making it as easy as possible to get paid when that time comes.
Yep, so the process needs to be established and needs to be as simple as possible, so you understand what needs to be done at any stage of a project. This session, we will break into 3 parts. So I will talk about pipeline management in Streamtime. So how to keep an eye on your pipeline jobs and jobs that are not live yet, and how to set it up quickly and easily, painlessly in Streamtime in order to report on your potential revenue coming in. Then we'll talk about invoices and just some areas of invoices that you can that you need to know, your payment terms, for example, and what is the process around those invoices for everyone. And we'll touch base on costs as well, and how important is it to stay on top of your costs within the business and just understand them, how they fit in your business too.
Totally.
Before we start, feel free to introduce yourself, guys. Say hi, where you work, what you do. It would be awesome to see who's attending today. And if you have any questions, just feel free to use that area as well to ask those questions. We will go through them as we go, and we'll touch base at the end as well.
Yeah, we'll come back at the end and we can run through them all then. But yeah, drop in, say hi, what you doing, where you working.
Maybe some ideas, some suggestions. We're always happy to hear what you do in Streamtime.
Yeah, if you have other ways of managing cash flow that maybe we don't touch on today, it'd be awesome to hear about how you're doing that. Or if you have any particular things that you'd be interested in doing, just let us know and we can talk about it, look into it.
Yep.
Sure.
Yep. Awesome.
Cool.
Should we start?
Let's get the show on the road, Paul.
That's it.
Hi, Lara.
Hey, Lara.
Cool.
It's an important session. Everyone loves it. It's all about money.
Cool. I'm just going to share this tab here. All right.
Okay.
So where are we starting today, Paul?
Yeah, so let's start with the pipeline management in Streamtime.
Yeah.
And how easy this is. It does require a bit of a setup and understanding what data you need to put in, but then it will make your life so much easier when it comes to reporting those potential revenue, understanding what are the jobs coming in, and whether your pipeline is within budget or you need to work harder, or you've got a lot going on, so you need to slow down. It can be anything. Which is a good problem to have.
Good problem to have. For sure. Yeah, cool. So what exactly do we need to kind of manage a pipeline within Streamtime?
Yeah, so all you need is to create a new job. Your pipeline jobs, any jobs in Streamtime. So what you need, you just create a new project, new job, add a client, add a potential budget. And perhaps
it's going to be the value of that job.
Exactly. Add a label. Labels can be the stage of that job. So the deal stage, I guess that's the wording we use here in Streamtime. And you can also create a new item with a due date, which is a potential sign-up date on potential quote approved date, for example.
Sure. So looking here, I've got my labels on. I've got opportunity, which is kind of what's telling me that's the deal stage. There's currently opportunity jobs. What's this other one here? This percentage label telling me? Yeah,
so that's the likelihood of this project coming on board for now. So for now, we've got one with 25%. So it's probably at the initial stages of planning. Then if we've got 50%, 95%, they can be different. Depends on how you guys work. So as long as you stay consistent on using those labels and just have one label called opportunity or a pipeline job, and then other, it's just the additional percentage, which is probability.
The confidence, maybe.
Confidence, that's a good one too. So right now we're actually reporting on our pipeline, and you could see that Patty just created a report using those labels, which is an opportunity label,
Yeah.
or can be a pipeline, as I said,
Yeah.
Job label which is not lost
Yeah.
and not on hold.
Yeah.
It's a good example. And
I think I've got some other jobs in there that were opportunities that were lost and might still be on hold. So this is showing me currently what's still an active opportunity, stuff that I can be looking at. And that's really easy, those filters. I've got the columns refined as well, just showing me all those things that we really have on this job, which is the budget, the due date, and the labels.
Yeah.
Obviously the client and the job name too.
For sure. And if you like to look at the lost deals, if you can do that too, to understand what's actually going on, what happened there. So you can dig deeper there. But it's always good to stay consistent, labeling those opportunities so they stay realistic.
Totally. And just clicking in, we can take a look at what we really have on that job to get it set up. It's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. On this one, I have got a bit of a budget in there. The due date there is telling me that we might be expecting this one to come in this Friday.
Yeah, so where did you add that due date, buddy?
So that's just sitting on this first item here. So job info, and I might use this item to contain notes or any maybe contact liaison with the client. I can use this additional information. We're going to keep our notes here.
Yeah.
Cool. So I can save that and I can ensure that we're just seeing those notes when we arrive at the job, so that if there's anything I need to know about this opportunity, it's going to sit there. And then we can keep that on the job as we go through the project to know what's been happening.
For sure. And I could see that you've got some items there and they're all in pause because we're planning ahead, I guess. So you don't want to have them in play because it's not gonna be good for the team to see that because they don't really need to work on it. It's just the planning ahead. And that's
in this particular case, I think the quote's been sent to the client.
awesome.
So we've kind of planned out the job, but you're right, it hasn't been accepted yet. So these aren't actual tasks that we want our team to work on.
But once it's accepted, you simply can just go and put them in play and start working on them. That's good news.
Exactly.
It's important to keep an eye on the time that you're spending on those opportunity work as well. So maybe you can create a new item of sales work, and what do you do for this opportunity job? Then you can potentially charge your client for it as well, because really the work started before the quote got approved. It's important to keep track of this extra time.
Totally. And a great way to do that is, maybe you don't have an item dedicated to it.
Maybe not.
But let's just create a quick to-do from here. And perhaps we've had a meeting with a client. Maybe this morning we've been at a really good meeting. I'm not actually going to select an item here. I'm just going to leave the item blank. And I'm going to say client meet. And let's say that was about an hour long. This morning, I'm going to create and log that one. So where's this going to be tracked on the job poll?
So it's going to be tracked on, if you scroll up a bit.
Cool. We might need to come back to refresh this one because it's happened on the live job.
Yeah, so if you wanted to see all the time that's been tracked within that job, you can stay in this job page and go into used and planned, have a look at that, or you've got your extra hours tracked on the bottom there as well. So extra hours tracked there, it's a time that hasn't been added to any item as Patty just did. So it's just an extra indication for you to know the time has been spent on this job.
Totally. And as you said, that might still be billable time. So I might still want to bill that one for the client, which I can easily do.
Yeah. And if you do want to add that to an item, so you can change that from the used and planned area and click on the time and just add it to the right item. So it's pretty simple.
Exactly. Maybe that was concept development.
Maybe.
We can classify that meeting as. Awesome.
That's
so
good.
You can see now it's been grouped here, 1 hour tracked already.
So this is how you do it when it comes to planning those jobs ahead and adding that information into Streamtime. When it comes to understanding where all those pipeline jobs are, there's an area in Streamtime that you can work from. The area is the priorities. That's one of my favorite parts of Streamtime. That's perfect. So we're looking at my priority boards, and that's where I manage my pipeline. This is just an example of how I would do it. It all depends on how you do it in your business, but you can create those columns that relate to you. So opportunities, and we've got proposal sent, and then we've got won. You can create columns based on your labels, which are your deal stage, I guess. So that percentage, that probability, a likelihood of that job. So it can be a 10%, it can be a 25%, 50, and 100. And then what you do, you add those opportunities into this board and move those jobs as they progress. So, for example, if we did, we've sent this proposal.
Let's say we've just won that job, eh?
Let's do it. That's awesome. 11K. That's a good job.
Nice. Let's approve
approve
that
the
quote. So this one's now in, it's ready to go. And at this point, I'm going to move it from that proposal
one.
sent column to 1.
Let's change that. Yeah, let's change those labels and have this data consistent, and just understand that consistency in this process is important in order to report on your jobs in real time. So communicating that to the team as well. And the beauty about priorities is that you can take actions from here straight away. So we just want this job. So what we do, let's just plan some time for myself to plan time for everybody else. So I can add a to-do for myself and for Patty. Say schedule work. Maybe schedule work today, the team, and it's going to take me.
Maybe let's say 2 hours to plot that all out.
Yeah.
By the time we nut through it all. So that can go in today. That's fine. Let's just create that task.
Perfect. So quick wins, quick actions from the priority boards. And also you can change the way you're looking at those cards too. So for now, we're just looking at the budget and how we are tracking. It can be added at the time used and planned can be added too. So you can understand what has happened within that job and how you're tracking. But it's totally up to you how you like to do it. And you can also create quotes and invoices from here too. So it's amazing. Create an invoice, create an expense or a quote. Super easy. And if you like to go into that job and get more information and maybe turn those items into in play, you can just click on that job name and it takes you straight to the job. So it's easy to navigate and it's just easy to stay and work from this priority screen because that's where you can take action straight away and then plan out your day, I guess, from there.
Yeah. And creating those follow-up tasks as well, like we just did, especially with these opportunities. Maybe you create a quote, you sent it. So from here, we can kind of do that. Let's say, oh yeah, we've created a quote. Let's say we've sent that one out to the client. And maybe I want to now create a follow-up task in a week's time just to follow up that quote, to check in case we haven't heard back. So follow up quote, and that's just going to be a 10-minute task. It might just be a phone call, and I can create that one. And now because we've created those tasks, let's just take a quick look how this looks on my to-do screen. So I can see that's the 2-hour task I created just now, scheduling work for the team, and then looking at a week ahead, follow up the quote there.
Yeah.
Which is great.
It's amazing.
Awesome.
But also, if you're not the one working on, managing that pipeline work, you can always go to someone else in your team priority board and make changes too. So if you've got a dedicated person who is in charge of all this, a sales manager, for example, in charge of all the businesses coming through, maybe that's Danielle, you can go into her priority board and make changes. So it's all up to date.
Exactly. So we've been looking at managing cash flow at the start of the funnel, making sure there's enough coming in and how we can kind of convert those opportunities into real work to be done, which is really cool. But what about the other part of cash flow, which is at the end of the job, getting invoices out and talking about what are the sort of best processes when it comes to invoicing? What are people doing? Why is it important to get invoices out? And talking about, payment terms and some of the strategies we can do to make it as easy as possible to send invoices.
For sure. We actually read an article by Zero team about invoices, and I believe they interviewed over 1,000 business owners on the tips on invoicing and how to get paid quicker. So
We'll
we
share
can-
that article with you at the end.
At the end,
session,
yeah.
Sure, we'll put that link in.
It's an interesting one, but they did mention that 40% of invoices are paid late. Wow. So that's crazy. So it's all really...
Comes as no surprise.
I mean, 40%, that's a lot. So if the easiest to send an invoice, the easiest to get paid. So we recommend for you not to forget about invoicing and really take it seriously and really set up your process and be consistent in it. So everyone in your team understand what needs to be done when it comes to invoicing. So it's seamless as well.
Totally.
Streamtime can provide all the tools you need. Really, all you need is Streamtime accounting software. So let's look into payment terms, Paddy.
Yep. So
what are the payment terms really?
What are my payment terms?
I keep invoicing you sometimes. Okay.
So talking about payment terms is really important because I think traditionally there are ideas around payment terms. Generally, they tend to be 14 to 30 days. They can kind of last a couple of weeks. But what we've kind of noticed is that people are tending to have shorter payment terms, and I think it's more ideal to do this because having shorter payment terms means that you're going to get paid quicker. Essentially, yes, 40% of invoices are paid late, but instead of getting paid late with 30-day payment terms, if you have 7 or even 14-day payment terms, getting paid late means that cash is still going to be hitting your bank sooner rather than later. So shorter payment terms is one thing that we would definitely suggest. One thing we found people are tending to do in some research that we've been doing into invoicing as well, that's kind of come into light. But looking at those invoices, about 75% of invoices do tend to ask for payment within the first 2 weeks. So there's no real need to feel bad about that.
It's your money, you deserve it. I mean, you shouldn't feel bad about it, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing as well is making it as easy as possible to actually create invoices, to get invoices out the door. Because the second that you put invoicing off, you've got too much work on. What that means is that you're pushing back your payday. So the easier it is to have an invoice ready to send, the easier it is to get it out and get that money into your account. So going through processes of having to look into jobs which need invoicing can be quite arduous, and it's not necessarily a fun thing to do, but it's the most necessary thing to do when it comes to running a business. So what we would suggest is trying to speed up this process by creating invoices ahead of time. And one thing that we often see is, one of the things that we tend to see that people find is really efficient way of getting invoices out is creating invoices at the start of a project. So, for example, getting these ahead of time. Now, what this means, first of all, is that obviously it's going to be much easier to get them out to your client when that time comes, to just find those invoices and click send, as opposed to having to, trawl through them, understand how much needs to be invoiced, and then send it. But if you're doing this at the start of the project, especially if you're billing in installments, it's super easy because what you can do is you can create invoices. Maybe you're doing 50% upfront, 50% commencement fees, deposits. We see this quite a bit. Then maybe there's a second and a third installment. And you can at least create those invoices as drafts, align their issue dates with when you expect that invoice to go out. So let's say, well, the first one's going out now. In a month's time, we'll be invoicing your second installment for that. So why not create that invoice due in a month's time, or at least due to be sent in a month's time, right at the start of the project? What that means is that you can then come to your invoices list, and we're looking at this one here, which is actually our cash flow favorite that we've got set up. All it is invoices that are due after a certain date here. So that's money to be coming through, but perhaps you're going to be looking... That's all right. Let's look at our invoices that are going to be issued on a certain date. Or maybe invoices that are due to be issued this week or this month. So these are ones that we might have created in advance that need to be sent still. And let's just turn on our... or maybe we can add an invoice status here, which is draft. And that means that they haven't yet been sent. So currently we can see we've just got this one here, this $100,000 invoice for Barcelona FC that needs to be sent this month. So super easy to get this list together, find the invoice, open it up, and just send it to your client.
That's it. And look, like this is just a process that we recommend, and obviously it can work, it can not work for you. Some clients, they use labels to label jobs that need to be invoiced as well.
Yeah.
And maybe they can create a favorite report of all the jobs that need to be invoiced. So when you've got your accounts person, accountant going in, all they have to do is just go into Streamtime and use that, go into favorite reports and just open that report on all the jobs to be invoiced.
Totally.
So it's also quite easy.
Super easy.
It really depends on how you operate there.
And this one, I might even save this one as a favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Invoices to send this month. So they're all draft invoices that are issued this month. And we know that they're due to be sent because there is draft status. The second they're sent, they'll be considered awaiting payment. So they'll be removed from this list, meaning that it's going to keep up to date automatically for us, which is really nice. Now, the other reason it's really good to create these invoices ahead of time is because it means you can report on how much cash is going to be coming through the business at different points in time. And that was what this cash flow favorite was showing us before. We're able to see invoices that are due after today and their value.
Yeah, and so we see we have $190,000 coming in the business.
Mm-hmm.
So that's amazing. That's the number you need to look at. And obviously, take action, follow up, and make sure you get paid on time in order to get this money on time.
Exactly.
Everyone have to run their own businesses, so kind of think about your business too. So don't, as Patty said, don't feel bad about chasing your payments too.
Totally. So a report like this makes you aware of, are we going to be Are we invoicing enough? Have we got enough coming in? You can even add other filters looking at due dates. So this one's due after today, but maybe we want to look at invoices that are due this month. Is enough coming through this month? You could go even further and say, oh, what about next month? So creating a real quick date range filter. So after the 31st of May and before the 1st of July is going to show us everything that's due to come in June. Currently, it looks like there's nothing due in June, which is problematic.
Also, you can see the overdue invoices from Streamtime. So you can understand what are the invoices that are still yet to be paid, and you can see when they're actually due and how long they're overdue. So it's important to understand. So, and then you can go and chase those clients again for payments.
So we might be looking at awaiting payment. Invoice status is awaiting payment, and it's due before today. Might be the other filter that we're looking at now. It looks like we've got a couple of invoices here. It's a fair amount of cash. You might want to be chasing that one up. And another strategy which we've seen people do is, considering adding overdue fees to your payment terms. And make sure these are clear and understood upfront when you're engaging in those conversations with the client while they accept, your terms and the work that you're going to do. Make it clear that if they don't pay on time, there will be overdue fees incurred, just to encourage them to be aware of sending that money through to you on time. They don't have to be huge fees, but this is just another tactic that can incentivize your client to pay ahead of schedule, or at least before that due date, or even on that due date. Cool. So let's move into the third section of today's webinar.
So that's understanding costs and how costs of your business fit into your business cash flow. So the costs are obviously time and expenses costs, and really keeping an eye and keep a close eye on how much working on certain projects costs you, and understanding that will allow you to make those important business decisions, such as should we be charging more, or are we making profit? It's not a fun thing to do, to realize that after the project has finished and you got paid, but you actually ended up with no profit. So it's better to understand that now and have those processes in place around your business costs, and always make sure you're on top of them.
Totally. So understanding how to report on your margins is really key. And as you said, ensuring that, or at least constantly asking, are your margins enough? Are they where you guys aim for them to be? And, you know, do your rates need to increase? And there are kind of two ways that we can directly really look at this. And one is, this first one is specifically related to the time that's been tracked. Looking at the cost of projects and the amount they've sold for, essentially. So the cost is, in this particular area, is just showing us the cost of the time that was worked on. So they're your team members' salaries with overheads and a little bit of profit probably stuffed in there just to be comfortable.
Just to stay safe.
Totally. But comparing these two and the margin there is really crucial. And if you're happy with this, then that's great. But if the difference between these two figures isn't great enough, then it might be worth considering, you know, how much you're selling your work for. That might need to be increased if your costs have unexpectedly increased.
That's it.
But good to know that you can just come in here and view this by job, by client, by team member.
By an item.
By an item. Or even look at this across different team members. So which are your more expensive team members to run on projects, and is their time being sold for enough as well? Yeah,
that's it. And you can always save them as your favorite reports too. So you can always jump in and have a look. If it has to be done every day, every week, it's totally up to you. But it's important to stay on top of that and make sure that your business is not in trouble and it's not too late to fix those things.
Totally. So I'm looking at the team time this month. So how much time was tracked all up? What was the cost of work that we did this month? And how much work did we sell this month as well? So just good to come in here and do some really quick snapshot reporting when you need to.
Looks like you're the most expensive one.
I am I?
I think so. 7,000. Oh, well.
I've done a few more hours than everyone else as
yeah,
well. So maybe.
Well, I'm not surprised. And you can also have a look at all the total costs within a project too. So if we jump into any project, you can go into your used and planned time and see what are the expenses that have been used within the project and how much time has been spent. So used and planned in here to understand the time track for that specific project. And if you wanted more information, you can even look at the items and how much time, and looking at cost and sell rate once again, making sure that sell rate is higher than the cost rate is ideal. And we are also looking at our expenses here in the bottom, setting them up in your profile and settings with the markup. It's always a good habit to have. If you don't, you can add them straight away from on the job page, but they don't really get saved anywhere, but that's okay. So it's a perfect example of our expense, which is cost us $500, but we are selling it for $500. So we're actually not making anything from here. So it's a decision for you to make whether you should be charging your client for that extra expense or not.
Totally. Cool. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. It seems like there hadn't been any questions come in, which is maybe great. Maybe we've covered all bases. But if you did have any final questions you wanted to drop in there, please do now, and we can chat through something. But if nothing comes through, thanks very much for tuning in. Hopefully you picked up a few tips today on how you might be able to better manage cash flow, or at least a few strategies you can implement to make sure that you're getting paid on time, you're getting paid enough, and make sure that you can use Streamtime to actually look at these things. If anything in today's session was unclear, or you want to go into a bit more depth, just send us a message and we can look and we can help you out. And I'll just post through this article that was written by Xero.
We are big fans of Xero, by the way. So.
Xero. Cool. It's just there for you if you're interested to head on out and give it a read. It was pretty good. Some good tips in there. Some of the stuff we touched on today we took from there too. But that's it.
That's it.
Thanks
so
very much, everyone.
Bye.